Have you ever heard of the phrase that adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it? If this is true, perhaps there's no more of a character revealing experience than a bad travel experience. Now, I had one of these way back when we could actually carry 5 ounces of liquid on a plane, didn't have to take off our shoes for security, back in a lovely time called 1997. That year, I took a trip to the Bahamas to celebrate my first adult paying job with 2 of my best friends from college. Now, this trip may have happened nearly 3 decades ago, but when I sent a text to my friends asking them what they remembered about this trip, the thread was lit. It went on for days. And sure, people, they were talking about, some of the fun times we had, but most of it centered on the experience we had getting there. And going back to where I started, where I said adversity reveals character, let's just say that this trip revealed that we were all complete assholes. So a little backstory, my 2 friends, Rob, he was my roommate senior year of college, but he was an Irish guy from Boston. Now, if you know anything about the stereotypes about Irish guys from Boston, that was Rob. He had a bit of a temper. And I knew from talking to him through the years that temper came from his father, and he was worried that it was actually going to follow him through life. But I have to be honest, his temper was mostly harmless. We would actually try to rile him up sometimes just to hear him rant about some stupid topic, and then eventually he would calm down and just laugh along with us. But I guess it could be scary sometimes. Jamie, my other friend who went with me on this trip, he was the complete opposite. Very laid back, mild mannered. Thing is, our families might have been comfortable. Jamie's family was obscenely rich. He told me that he would have never had to work a day in his life if he didn't want to. So Jamie's father, total Renaissance man, combat gunner in World War II, drove Formula One cars, raced steeplechase horses, obviously an amazing business tycoon, but super philanthropic in the community, great husband, and obviously a legend as a father. Jamie just never thought he was ever going to emerge from his father's shadow. I mean, it's hard when your dad just seems like he's perfect at everything. Now me, I had my own insecurities, and perhaps the biggest one was I just never thought I was cool. And, I grew up in a town that was mostly white, and being not white made it very obvious that I was different. But it was worse than that. I wasn't invited to parties, girls were not interested in me, and I just never really felt like, one of the guys. Now, some of this did change in college. Rob and Jamie were in a circle of friends that I had that were pretty solid, but I actually didn't lose those insecurities. I always felt like I had to prove that I was cool enough to be part of the gang. And thankfully, my parents gave me a way to prove how cool I was. They had somehow gotten scammed into buying this resort timeshare that they never use. Like when you go to Atlantic City, they ask you to come listen to a speech for 2 hours. Yeah, they ended up with one somehow. Anyway, they never use it, and so when I graduated college, they actually gifted me a week at a resort anywhere in the world I wanted to go. So in turn, to prove how cool I was, I offered my friends a free week in the Bahamas at a 5-star resort. No one had to pay a dime. All we had to do was get there. Foreshadowing. So, our trip, we were supposed to go through Atlanta to get to the Bahamas. Things went crazy from the get-go. More or less, we got to Atlanta after this massive delay, changed planes, and this entire plane of passengers got to Atlanta, but the flight to Nassau left. So they sent a half flight of passengers off to Nassau. Okay, that left an entire gate of just irate passengers yelling at this poor agent, right? So we actually thought we were going to be the cool ones, right? We waited. It was early in the day. There was plenty of flights. We were sure that we were going to be at that 5-star resort by nightfall drinking together. So we waited, and then we got to talk to the agent and see there was a problem. In that time that we waited, all those flights got booked. There was no flights left. So he gave us his best offer, meal vouchers, Braves tickets, a hotel in Atlanta, and a flight the next day. Completely reasonable offer. Not to 3 22-year-old brats. I told him that was unacceptable. We had a night at a 5-star resort in the Bahamas, and I needed to be compensated for that reasonably. I'll remind you, we were not paying a dime for it. Now, there is a fourth character in this story. He wasn't one of our friends, but when I actually sent that text to my friends, we all remembered his full name without hesitation, Peter Atua. Now, Peter was what Delta calls a redcoat, which is basically a customer service manager. Not that he fought for the British. But anyway, Peter showed up right as I was demanding compensation for that free night at the resort. He listened, and then he repeated the offer. Meal vouchers, tickets to a Braves game, hotel, and a flight the next day. And that's when adversity got the best of us. One by one, we all revealed our characters. Rob, his temper boiled over. Get your fucking head out of your ass, you fucking moron. What the fuck is wrong with you? There was a competitive sport in swearing. Rob won a gold medal that day. Jamie? Well, he reverted to that kid who would never live up to his father's standards, threatened to call higher authorities, complained he wasn't being heard, and then punctuated it all with, "You wouldn't treat my dad this way." Me? I took a different route. I wanted to inquire about Peter's life and his upbringing. I asked him what sort of skills and training and talent you had that you got to wear a red coat while everybody else got to wear a blue coat. Here I was, belittling this guy just for doing his job. What a brat. To his credit, Peter tried to walk away. Unfortunately, he tripped over a guide rope and fell. Now, this is when we all became concerned citizens. We rushed over to make sure he was okay. I'm just kidding. We totally laughed and mocked at him. Jamie even threw in a sarcastic, "Watch yourself, Peter." Peter, at this time, was done. He shot us a look that could melt steel. But didn't lose his cool. He came over, repeated his offer, told us forcefully, take it or leave it. I can say today, we should have taken it. We didn't. You see, I had one more way to prove to my friends that I was super cool. That first adult paying job, it was as a traveling consultant, which gave me access to a personal travel agent. I called her, she did some searching, she found us 3 first-class tickets on another airline to go to the Bahamas that night. We were psyched. We put her on the phone with Peter, he signed over the tickets. Victory was ours. Not quite. Peter's revenge tour was just about to begin. So this new flight had to take us through Miami. Miami had a tropical storm. So when we got there, we were stuck there anyway. And so we didn't get to the Bahamas the next day, this time without the Braves tickets. And after that, well, karma just started fucking with us. When we got to the Bahamas, after all that ordeal, nobody had any idea where our bags was. It was absolute hell trying to track them down. Jamie and I, we didn't get our bags till halfway through this trip. This was worse for Jamie because he had gone to the airport just after a date with his fiance wearing dress corduroys. This meant he was in the Bahamas for 3 days, walking around in the heat, even on the beach, in corduroys. The hotel staff even took to calling him Corduroy Boy. Rob did not get his bag until the 6th day of this trip, or the day before we were supposed to go home. Let's just say we saw his temper a lot trying to deal with that issue. But honestly, none of us were handling it well. The first night we were out in the Bahamas, in a drunken haze, Jamie kissed a girl at a bar and was feeling really guilty for cheating on his fiance. Me, being the good friend I am, tried to comfort him and suggest that his fiance was probably cheating on him with all the guys in New York at the time. So he smacked me in the back of the head, reasonable response. Next thing I know, I stripped down to my boxers ready to fight. because, that's the logical next step. This gave Rob the impossible choice of chasing Jamie, who was now running down the beach, threatening to swim home, or me, the guy who had inexplicably just stripped down to his boxers back to the hotel. The next night, not much better. We went to a pool bar. Somehow I lost Rob and Jamie, and so I decided to walk back to the hotel dripping wet. That's when security showed up and threatened to arrest me because I didn't want to put my pants on over my wet bathing suit. Let me just say, pants and me were just not on the same page on this trip. Honestly, after all that, things got better. We did have a good time, but when I think back about that travel experience and how it revealed who we are, it wasn't great. But that's the thing about experiences. It's just one moment in time. And nearly 3 decades later, I can safely say that none of us are the same people. Rob, that temper he has, long gone. He has turned that into this self-deprecating sense of humor that I just appreciate and love. I mean, sure, he'll tell us to fuck off still, but he's usually laughing when he says it. And honestly, he's really one of the most balanced and reasonable friends I have, and he's a very kind and patient father of 2. Jamie? Well, let me start by saying I was right. His fiance was cheating on him. Vindication, promise I won't strip. But thankfully he did find that out before he got married, and then soon after that he did find his current wife. He has put all right, we're good. All right. So Jamie has long emerged from his dad's shadow, right? When him and his wife had a beautiful son of their own. That guy puts all of his heart and attention into giving all that kid all the love and support he needs. As a human, as a friend, as a father, he has accomplished so much in his own way. As for Peter, we felt so bad about how we treated him during that trip that we looked him up and apologized, and now we're all friends. I'm just kidding. That guy definitely wants to have nothing to do with us. That being said, in this day and age, we can Google him, which Rob did recently, and this part is 100% true. Peter is now a high-ranking government official in Nigeria, which means the 3 of us can never visit that country. But I do wonder if it was the annoyance of dealing with us that trained him for a career in bureaucracy. More likely, he just got so sick of us that he decided to move. Now, as for me, I still have those insecurities. They're with us for life. They're hard to shake, but we do learn to deal with them better. And I certainly don't try to be cool anymore, and certainly not at the expense of belittling other people. Also, learn to roll with the punches. Things are gonna go wrong. Make the most of them and move forward. Take those Braves tickets. My wife and I, over the summer, we had a bad travel mishap. Through the course of it, I kept reminding myself, things could be worse. Things are gonna work out. And honestly, the people helping us, they are not the enemy. I really wish I could have called that brat from 3 decades ago and tell him that. And maybe also, hey man, keep your pants on.